Before we dig in, a quick thank you to the sponsors ready to grow with the Soil Sisters. Tejas Tonic is the official beverage of the Texas Soil Sisters. We especially love that the hemp for Tejas Tonic is organically farmed in the Texas Hill Country, with farms in both Dripping Springs and Lukenbach, Texas. The Soil Sisters podcast is powered by B&P Electric. Whether you're building, remodeling, installing low-voltage landscape lighting, or in need of an inspection, B&P is your Central Texas electrical contractor. Find links to our sponsors in the podcast show notes or head over to txsoilsisters.co. You're listening to the Soil Sisters podcast, where we dig in on family farming and ranching, regenerative agriculture, healthy living, and planting seeds in our community. We invite you to listen, subscribe, and grow with the Soil Sisters. Hi, y'all. I'm Joanna Newting, joined by my blood, soul, and soil sister, Crystal. Welcome to the show.
Well, I am very excited to have this conversation. I've just had a little bit of a teaser of a few things that we're about to talk about with Dr. Ken Mix, and I can't wait.
Dr. Ken Mix is the director of the Small Producers Initiative, and him and his team also help program the Southern Family Farmers and Food Systems Conference, which is a statewide workshop on soil health and regenerative agriculture. He is also a professor of soil and crop science at Texas State University, and the Soil Sisters are fans. So,
fans.
Dr. Mix, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Well, I'm excited to have you guys here because every time we've met, it's always been so much fun. So I'm really looking forward to all of this.
Well, I will tell everyone that we had a great Q&A conversation with Dr. Mix at the Soil Sisters fundraiser event. We did a soil revival in Stonewall, and we had some technical difficulties. So I sheepishly called Ken back and was like, I'm really sorry that podcast didn't record. Can we do this again?
And actually, I'm glad we are because we have dinner waiting afterwards, and that's nice. So I'm excited to feed you some of our regenerative farm-raised products.
Yes.
I am so excited.
A true farm to table experience.
Yeah. Yes.
So actually almost everything, well, I won't say almost, a lot has been either us or another local producer today.
Fantastic.
So
That's why we like to eat.
Yeah.
And this is what we're talking about. Meet your producers locally.
So we could talk to you about 1,000 things, but the thing that comes back all the time is the idea that without people educated about regenerative agriculture, you're not going to get the overwhelming adoption that's needed to make this become the way to farm and ranch. So since you are an educator and you are molding young minds, we thought we would start there and see where that conversation takes us.
Well, I will say the generation, the young generation, they all get it because they see a bleak future, right? So when I was young and we were knocking out textbooks on stone tablets, it was a wonderful future because you had all these opportunities ahead of you. But today, I mean, they're hearing microplastics, they're hearing climate change, they're seeing, things happen in their life that makes them anxious, and they're watching zombie TV, right?
Exactly.
Right. Which, I do too. But with that on them at that age, it's a harder thing for them to rationalize how their future can be. And many of them, right now, these are COVID high school kids that I'm teaching now that are graduating. So they also went through that. And I even said when I came into the department in 2010, we had 230 students. And I said, this department's going to explode. And I was told unequivocally, there's no possibility for that. That will not happen. It's like, you really don't understand what's going on in the landscape. Like I told students the other day, I said, look, old people just don't understand us. They just don't get us at all. And what's happening is I could see in conversations what they were seeing. And since 2010, our department's grown to 900 students.
Wow.
And the overwhelming interest is in something regenerative.
Yay.
And the reason, I think, is they understand when they see the documentaries, when we teach about it, they get that the treadmill is broken and that there is a way for things to grow and be productive and meet everybody's needs. But it's hard for people to change how they see the world, especially if they've been doing it for 30 or 40 years and they're now in their 50s or 60s. How are they going to change that? Most of the people I see coming in our area that are adopting it rapidly are either new or young, which could be old and new or young. And on occasion, there are people like Troy Swift who adopted this after 20 years and has adopted it so quickly that he's now one of the leading producers in yield, not just economic.
Yeah.
And then a friend of his over in New Braunfels, Mark Friesenhahn. Mark's older than I am, so I'm going to guess he's in his late 60s or early 70s. And he's angry. I mean, he is extremely angry about not being told that the system could work this way.
Yeah.
And as he's started to convert, he's seeing in his way, in the way he talks about it, a lot of times I think he's viewing it in the rearview mirror. How much money did I spend? How much money did I lose through this process when I could have been making more money in this years ago? I don't know how long he's had his orchard, but Mark, if you've ever been in a room with Mark, I don't know if you have met him. He's
not yet.
He's very, very animated when he gets angry about this. And I look back and I think, in some ways, I look back the same way, but I haven't been farming. I farmed back in the 80s and 90s as a vegetable grower, and I have the ranch here. We haven't applied any fertilizer, I mean, I might put a Miracle Grow on my potted plants, but that's the extent of what we do. But I look back and think, gosh, would I have done vegetables differently? Or how would corn and beans in the Midwest be different under regenerative ag? How would Texas be? I can't guarantee. I don't know the model, but I would say Texas might have better rainfalls if we
I would say 100%.
So it's funny you say that. The November cover of Acres USA, at the very top, it says Alpha Low explains how farmers can help grow rain.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that you talking about that gentleman being angry, he's just on the other side of the denial, which is where so many people are. Like just a little bit more and they're going to get mad, but they can't handle that right now.
Right.
Because there is some guilt and some shame. And
yeah, there would be, there's going to be so I tell my students, the first thing they do is, why doesn't everybody adopt this? That's the first question they ask. And it's like, well, there's age, there's neighbors, there's peer pressure. But a lot of it is the Spanish prisoner con, which is really simple. I've got $1 million in a bank in Spain that I can go get tomorrow, but I can't afford the plane fare. But I'll share it with you. I'll give you 10% if you'll fly me over. So you fly me over. No big deal. We've been friends for a while, right? I work the con a lot. We've been friends. It's like, well, Ken's a good guy. He's not going to be lying to me. So I get to Spain and I call you up. It's like, the bank is closed. I didn't know it was a holiday week. I'm going to have to stay an extra week. Can you front me the hotel? Well, I've already spent the money to fly you over. I might as well go ahead and give you the money to stay. Because I am going to get that 10% back on that $1 million, right? So I'm going to get $100,000, and right now we're just talking $5,000. It's not a big deal, right? But I could have done that to 10 people, for that same thing, right? And I'm not in Spain, right? And then all of a sudden we're invested. We're invested in what we've done, so we don't want to give up the investment that we've made, because I already spent the money. And if I give that up, I'm going to feel stupid that I spent it at all. So I should keep in this game to see if I can make that win. And we're all prone to that because every relationship plays the Spanish con game. I promise I will do better at cleaning house. I don't know who we're talking about. I promise, mom and dad, I'll never do that again. Right. These are things that we all are susceptible to. So the fact that con game works really well, because we're prone to it, and we do it to ourselves, we execute it. So it's really easy. So, when you see people not wanting to change, a part of that is I've invested in it too deep.
Yep.
And so there we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's the truth.
Yeah. Bless us, everyone.
Well, and I had written down, I wanted to gauge the pulse of agricultural science students right now. So what I'm hehearing is they're open, receptive. Do you have a lot of students about to change their degree plan to one of these regenerative pathways?
So we just opened 3 degree plans in regenerative ag this fall. So we have regenerative agriculture in range management, regenerative agriculture in soil science and soil conservation, regenerative agriculture in plant physiology and agronomy. So one is crop-based, one is soil-based, one is animal-based. And we have had a few people list it as their degree plan. I haven't gotten numbers on it yet. And we do need at least 10 students enrolled in each one. But I designed them specifically so they had a common core so that we could meet our classroom demands, right? Yeah. So if we just got 10 students overall, we can teach the classes. We don't have to have 10 in each track.
Nice.
Then at the end we would have to have 10 in each track, because at the very end, the range management students will need to take some additional animal science classes to meet that. And the courses that they take also, to the best of my ability and the best of my knowledge, meet the Federal Register's requirement for them to get a job with the government. So they have the credits in the right categories to get those federal positions too. That's just something that we need to do as a university. We need to be able to, they need to be able to get a job.
Yes.
They need to have courses that allow them to be skilled in an area.
Well, and we need young people that are regeneratively minded in positions of power in our government.
Right.
Because that is what we have seen being so much of the problem, is that people don't understand. And when we've spoken, we did a Zoom DC fly-in, and the people that we talk to, they don't know anything about it.
Right.
And so even on the other side of that, there was a thing that we did at Troy Swift's, and I believe you were out there, where I say we, someone was educating the different folks that work for the NRCS and different stuff around the state. So I was loving that, because that told me, of course, and they didn't know about this stuff, so they were learning more regenerative things. So yeah, we do need people who work in the government and in all areas to understand these concepts and be able to speak to them and recognize the value in these things.
That's essential, and we need the policies to support that.
Yes.
Right. One of the things for a commodity producer is, the government programs are there to support them, to keep them from failing, right? And we don't want our farmers to fail. Unequivocally, that's not even a question. We don't want our farmers to fail. We don't want our crops to fail. We don't want any of that to happen. Those programs are there to support that. And I'm not going to get into the details around any of those things, but they're there to support that. But what we don't have is the support for the off-ramp.
Yes.
Because the basic tenet that works, so science works sometimes, very simply, very linear. You apply 100 pounds of nitrogen to the field, you will get 100 bushels of corn. We've done the math. That's what you get. If you don't apply 100 pounds of nitrogen, you can't be in the program, you can't be insured, because we can't guarantee 100 bushels of corn in a normal year. In an abnormal year, it's different. So in the Midwest, it's 300 pounds of nitrogen to get 300 bushels, right? Recognizing that I think it's more than a 25% runoff loss to that. So it's like, not
straight into the water supply.
Right. Not even including erosion from tillage and all these other things that occur. But the policies that could help would be things like an off-ramp. Like, we recognize that the regenerative ag is a complex system. And as you get into it, you will be productive. I have not personally heard of anybody who's done the practice in a complete fashion that is not making the county average yields.
Yeah.
And then they're also not having the cost. I mean, my neighbor's already tilled twice.
Yeah.
So that's,
Wait, this fall?
yeah.
So he's paid that.
Right. So there's already at least, I think he's tilled twice. There's already at least one pass at probably $30 an acre.
Yeah.
There'll be a planting pass for sure. There may be another treatment or another tillage.
Yeah.
Right. So if you think about how many times you don't, no-till, you're going to, he still would have done a pass. He would have planted a cover.
Yeah.
So it still would have cost. There wouldn't be a tillage. There would just be another plant in the spring. There wouldn't be a fertilizer application pass. There wouldn't be a pesticide application pass of herbicide or insecticide. So all those are saved money.
Right.
And there's a gentleman in the Midwest who had $1 million a year cost for his applications.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And when he went regenerative, he quit paying that $1 million.
Exactly.
And did he talk in specifics about how he got off?
I don't know. I haven't met him yet. Is one of my goals. Being from Indiana, I need to get back there. And I have a weird feeling I knew his father because this guy farms 10,000 acres and I don't think I bought it. I think he just helped me load it up. Semis full of turkey manure for my farm. And the guy that I got the turkey manure from is in the same general region and also was farming 10,000 acres. And it's very unusual in that area for someone to be farming 10,000 acres as a young person and not to have inherited that from their parent. So it's like, I just got to get there and ask.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I think that's a great example. Someone who is farming on that large of scale and to have them showcase how, they did it. Was it cutting it in half?
Would be vital to show what was the off ramp.
Yeah.
And when I talk to farmers about doing things, I'm always talking about safe to fail. Take what amount of land could not produce at all and you wouldn't feel it, right? So I was talking to a young lady who farms cotton between Midland and Abilene around, there's another town out there, I can't remember, Big Springs, that area. So she was telling me about the land that she had. And it's like, well, could we take 10% of that? I think it was like 20 acres. If 20 acres was just pure dirt, how would that hit your bottom line? It's like, oh, it really wouldn't make any difference. It's like, okay, well then let's make a plan for that 20 acres and let's see if we do these things, if it works. And I have to be very careful because I'm not a consultant. I like to refer to myself as a counselor. So
That's fair. We're going to get into that
counselor.
later.
I was about to say we have 30. 30 acres. That's what.
That's this. So I like to phrase it in, how would you feel about that? How would you feel about this? Have you looked into these things? What do you think you might get? Because just directing somebody to do something and then I find out that it didn't work and then, well, I'm going to feel bad and I don't have the checkbook to pay for it. So,
Well, and I love that you say that because without knowing that's what we were doing, that's what we did.
Exactly.
So our family is allowing us to lease 30 acres
perfect.
of the 5,000 to show what this off-ramp looks like.
Perfect. That's great because that's what we really need. And I'm going to try to do something. Dare I say that I wish it hadn't rained, because I'm going to try to cultivate 10 acres here on our place, and plant it to crop. So I have to cultivate it one time. I'm going to have to plow it, disturb it, destroy the KR blue stem perennial grass that is not a good grazing grass anyway, but I want to destroy that. And I want to go to a planned annual crop for grazing. If my math works out, and we all know in farming it never works out, but at least my Excel file shows that I would be able to graze 2 times the animals I have just on that 10 acres.
Yeah.
By turning that to grazing corn, sorghum Sudan, winter wheats, fall cover, mixed, multi-species mixed, because that's the diversity is essential. Doing that. And then I would have my other 40 acres that, if it did fail, well, I got a whole bunch of old hay out there.
Yeah.
But that space to be safe, to try this and see what it works, see if it works, is essential. But that's the thing with policies that's real important. Coming back to the policy talk, if we can get those things in place, so a farmer can take a portion out and feel safe, even if the policy is just something, we're only going to allow you to do this on 10% of your acreage,
Right,
and be supported. Okay. Well, then if that acreage is actually productive, then I can say, well, I don't need it. I don't need support on that 10 acres this year because I've already done it a couple of years and I'm good. Now I need it on the new 10 acres, right, to keep moving off. Yeah. But those are things for politicians. I'm not a politician.
Well, and I think that your example of him spending $1 million, that speaks volumes, because it is not only the money that you're going to make, but it's the money that you're saving that you're not having to spend.
Right.
And so just not spending 10% of $1 million is $100,000. What are you going to do with
Even
that?
if his yields dropped,
exactly,
he still probably ended up making another $100,000 a year overall by not having to spend that. And some of the things I tell students, I didn't show this to class, and I'm going to say something. It's very, very tragic what I'm about to tell you, and I'm going to describe it in detail. So the things we do in, farming is a dangerous business, right? I mean, I just told you I hurt my elbow just loading up stuff to go to market the other day. Yeah. I tore the skin down my Achilles heel here the first year we lived here. Cheyenne was in the hospital 2 weeks later with a beast. I'm laughing because they were kind of like, "Don't we know you?" And it's like, "Yes, I have a card here. Can I get a free coffee?" She was in overnight for observation because a bee sting had gotten infected. So, and of course we had multiple bee stings, and I've looked like the guy from Goonies more than once. But some of the reasons I'll tell students, we buy organic produce only for one simple reason: I'm not going to support the crop duster that flies over a crop and is dusting a field when a young mother is driving through that on a nice spring day with her windows down and infants in the back seat. I just don't want to support that business. Yeah. I'm not even saying organic is better. I'm not even claiming anything like that. I just know that is not something I want to be involved in. Yeah. So there's a YouTube video out there of a dash cam of a sheriff that went to this is up in the Midwest. It's very common. It's a common thing in the Midwest. Every year you hear this on the news. So there was an accident at an intersection in a farm country. There was a tractor pulling a trailer of anhydrous ammonia. The car hit the tractor. The anhydrous erupted. Sheriff got there, and the dash cam's running. The sheriff, not realizing that it's not a fog, that is ammonia, runs out into the fog, and you hear and watch the officer die. That's the wrong thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah. People, they hear the story, the statistics, but then when you have to think about it as a human life and the choices.
Those are the things we're supporting. Yeah. Those are the risks we're supporting. There's other accidents that occur in farming that are just part of we know that, right? We know the tractor can flip. We know these things are because this is the world we live in. Friend of mine's husband was gored, then, got an arm dislocated. And I mean, all these things happen in farming because you're working with big animals, you're working with big equipment, and we're not being safe. And let's be honest, it's a machista world in farming and dudes. And I won't speak for anybody else, but maybe just myself, we tend not to look out for ourselves as much as we should. But supporting things that we know are dangerous, that are going to happen, like that anhydrous thing happens every year. Yeah. That is not an isolated one-time event. Every year growing up, multiple cases on the news in the Midwest of people being burned or dying from anhydrous ammonia. So, but this is how we're fertilizing our crops. Yeah. So how's that make sense? And anyway, that was a little rabbit trail maybe we didn't need to go down. But
you know what I say and have said and will continue to say, the moment you say poison, I
Right.
say no thank you.
Right.
What part of that says, let's put this on our food?
Yes, we poison our food.
What? And then eat it.
Yeah, right.
What? I mean,
Right.
that's just
But it's not that bad.
exactly. It's fine. It's fine. Now put on this mask
Right.
and breathe your own waste.
Right.
I'm like, who buys this?
Right.
Like, I can't. Well, and unfortunately, too many people.
I think a lot of that is that people have been disconnected from where our food comes
Sure.
from. So it sounds like a boogeyman,
Right.
just this idea of something you can't see it. So if I can't see it, is that really real?
And we do that so easily, right? I mean, we all heard about microplastics in the news, right? This has only been the last 5 years. This has been,
Yeah.
but it's been going on for decades.
Yeah.
So it has been out of sight, out of mind. When I was doing my natural resources degree, I wrote for a little newspapery thing, magazine on campus, and I would put in these one-liners sometimes. I just did one of it was just a bunch of one-liners. It's like, you know what? It's okay if you cut down every tree in the forest, but you got to use an axe.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that might slow it down. Maybe we
Yeah.
don't have deforestation. The other thing is, if we could not throw our waste into the trash bin and we had to keep it, would we not all be screaming for everything to be made out of wood and paper and glass and plastic or
And
glass and hemp and metal, right? Because metal we could recycle, glass we can recycle, but all the other stuff we could compost.
Yeah.
But we don't. We throw it downstream, and that's great because I don't ever have to see it again. It just goes downstream to my neighbors.
Well, and I think it's hilarious because they then want you to be afraid of a virus. We don't care about microplastics. What's the big deal? What's these? Come on, just take the vaccine. Come on. What's the big deal? But they want you to be afraid of the things they want you to be afraid of because that's the way they control us. And we're going back to the Spanish con.
Yeah.
So now, while you're talking about that, there was another article. Well, the article I did read today, I saw the other headline, but about technocratic sharecroppers. Like that's what's happened.
Oh,
So with farmers who are buying all of the equipment that is, AI driven or, relying on drones in your system and even the collar systems, like
Right.
we're being sold all of these ideas for convenience and for precision and for profit. And farmers that buy into that, all of a sudden, then now they're beholden to these technology companies who they've just offloaded all of their sovereignty to.
Yeah. The risk I see a lot, and I talk about this with students because I have students that they all read to some extent, right? Not as much
That's
as
important.
not as much as maybe I wish they would read. And we're all getting reading thrown at us that is very low quality content if we're not picking up novels and scientific papers. But I've been asked, well, what about applying this product or that product or something else that are all in the news? And it's like, what part of changing from the system of application-based agriculture to regenerative agriculture that is still application-based is growing your soil?
Yeah.
The application-based, whether it is an organic base, whether it is a biological, whether it is a chemical, is still indenturing the farmer to purchasing something. And that salesperson is just not, it's not going to be any different because their livelihood relies on the sale.
Yeah.
Now, if it is, in some cases, if you're taking over conventional land that has been applied with a lot of conventional applications, then making those applications up front of those biologics and things like that to basically prime that soil to get it to flip into regenerative faster, that's probably a good idea.
Yep.
But 5 years down the road, then it's just all you've changed is from one addiction to, one drug to another in the addiction.
And that's for education.
Well, yeah, because once you use some of these things and start turning the corner and getting your microbiology where you want it, then there are things that you can do just using the knowledge you've acquired and using what is on your property to maintain your system or improve your system. So it's like you can use these biologics, but there is an off ramp for those.
Right. But I'm afraid, back to the con, I've invested in these biologics and it's given me the things, it's given me the output that I need, the yields I want. And now I should probably keep doing this because it's been working.
See, then that's where we have to talk about farmers' mental health.
Yeah.
Because that's not your soil being addicted. That is you as the farmer that is like, I haven't felt empowered before and I don't know the right choice. So I'm relying on this.
And it's a valid right. And we're now then discussing why should farmers feel that insecure about making changes? And
well,
that's
slaves have to be taught to be free. They have to be taught how to be free.
Right.
That it's there. The information is there and plenty of people know about it, but they've been slaves. And if you've been a slave, then you don't know how to be free. And
you've never had that opportunity.
This is what we're doing.
There's a book you guys may know. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it. Richard Bachman, who wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull, wrote a book called Illusions back in the 70s. You should read that. Okay. There's a wonderful opening comment there about being afraid of letting go. Mm-hmm. And that is hard because it's kind of a Machiavellian thing. I fear letting go for fear I could be wrong.
Yeah.
So I don't want to buy into that new idea because not only is everybody around me against it, so I can't believe in that system. But the other thing is, we all know the American farmer produces a lot of goods, but doesn't really get paid for that production.
No.
So when your livelihood's at risk, if you make a mistake and you could lose the family farm, you could lose 40 years of your livelihood. That's pretty crushing. I mean, I was at a farm auction in the late 80s, and the older gentleman whose farm was being auctioned was just sobbing in tears uncontrollably.
Well, of course.
Right. I mean, it was horrific to see. I mean, of course, we like to put it in our head that we're there helping out because at least you're getting a cash reward for this. But he was either having to quit, by force, and he was well past retirement age. So it was either just the kid's not going to take it over. I've got to sell it because I can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
What am I doing? But what if you're not 70 some 80 years old doing that? What if you're 30?
Yeah.
And this is dad's, grandpa's. This is where I was born. And now all of a sudden, and you guys went through that. I mean, you're part of that process too. So a farmer who's looking at making this change always has that in their mind because they don't get paid what they should get paid for their crop, right? We all know the box of cereal, right? It was what, $5 or $6 for
now it's
10
like
ounces?
$8 or $9.
Okay.
And it's total crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, there it is. And the bushel of corn for the cornflakes is, I just priced it a couple nights ago. It's less than $4 a bushel.
Exactly.
So it's 50 pounds of corn. So if the farmer was going to get the edible cost of that corn, right? So how do we make farming an economical career so that they can take those risks?
Yeah.
Right? That's another part of the equation.
We had James Decker, the mayor in Stanford, Texas, who had mentioned farmers are the only folks that buy seeds at retail, buy their chemicals at retail, and they sell their product at wholesale.
Right.
That is unsustainable.
Right.
And everybody wants that.
Right.
Except the farmer. I don't want to grow my own food, but I want you to grow it, but I want to buy it.
I told a buddy, if I could figure out what thing to do to make $1 million, right? Find something nobody wants to do, figure out how to make an app, and then put it into a subscription. So we should do that with farming, right? Yeah. Nobody wants to farm. Okay, so we're going to make an app. You're going to buy from me, and I'm going to give it a subscription. Yeah. And then you're going to participate in agriculture. You're going to have an agricultural event 3 times a day when you eat.
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody does participate in agriculture.
Exactly.
But nobody wants,
Yeah.
These may be rabbit trails.
Well, it's so all of this comes to the mindset of the farmer, and conventional farming has created a victim mindset amongst farmers where regenerative agriculture and a regenerative living mindset enables a farmer to feel empowered. And a regenerative mindset also tells a farmer to have multiple verticals, to have various income streams. Conventional farming does not do that.
Right. That, if we went back just 1960 in the Midwest, okay, because that's my context. I don't have a context here in 1960. So 1960s Midwest, soybeans weren't even around yet. So soybeans came out. All the listeners, I guess, I'm not young. So soybeans arrived when I was a child, and we would have commercials on TV because it's corn and bean country. Indiana was farm country. And so we would have TV commercials for seed companies and all this stuff selling to farmers throughout the state. So they had a little commercial where the soybean breathed in the nitrogen and pumped nitrogen out and fertilized the ground. So it was a good rotation. It was a funny little cartoon. But prior to that, a farm might be one section of land, 640 acres. Okay. So one quarter of that would be corn. And when the corn was done, it would basically deplete the ground of the soil quality. So they would plant wheat afterwards because wheat can then be grown in degraded soil. Then after the wheat, they would plant alfalfa. So the wheat stubble would help nurse the alfalfa along. They would plant the alfalfa that would help break up some of the hard pan. It would also create a hard pan. It's a kind of wonky thing that happens with legumes. They do well in tight soils, but then they also kind of create tight soils. So after they cut the alfalfa, then they would turn that into a pasture. That would then turn it into a multi-species cover crop because everything would come in, the animals would graze it, we would refertilize it, then it would be fertile and ready for the corn, right? And then we'd go back in this rotation. And this was common. And then people would have their pigs, they would have chickens, they'd have a truck patch, have all these different layers. You talk about these different ways of making a living. Mm-hmm. My great uncle and aunt, they had an orchard. And I don't know if they sold any of that, but I mean, their basement was full. Yeah. They had every kind of preserve that they ever needed to get through. They were born late 1800s, early 1900s, farm family. They did it all. He had hogs, he had cattle, and he had row crops. So that was really common, and that did get taken away. So when you talk about, sort of having agency, nowadays, that's even harder because a buddy of mine was telling me that, like, some cotton gins won't process your non-GMO cotton for once. Well, they'll process it for you, but you can't get your seeds back. And so if you have non-GMO cotton, you want to get your own seeds back because you don't want to pay retail for your seed. Right. Mm-hmm. But you can't get seed back from a gin that processes GMO cotton because that could mix in GMO seed in the process by accident.
Oh, it will. If you've ever been to a gin and you see...
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
they have no control.
They can't control that, so they can't give you seed back. So then you're almost forced into this space mm-hmm. that you don't want to be in. And these are things that, you mentioned farmers' sense of well-being. You can't feel like you have a sense of well-being if you can't control your life. You can't be in control of the things around you. So that makes it very difficult. Mm-hmm. And regenerative agriculture, on the other hand, places you out there looking on the field, what's going on. Yeah. If you're going to do a multi-species cover crop as part of your rotation, depending on who you're buying it from, you can't even get a coated seed because why put an antifungal on when you're trying to build fungus in the soil?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, you have the ability to put the product down that you want to put down and control what you want to get out of it. Price structures are still not yours to control, but the method in which you grow.
You mentioned that about going out as a regenerative farmer. You're going out and looking, you're observing, you're seeing what's happening. Part of this technocratic sharecropper storyline that Mark Shepard was writing about is when you're getting on an app and pressing a button,
Right.
you are disconnecting yourself from your land.
Right.
So it's
The hidden consequences, right? We call it emergent properties that come out of things, right?
Yeah.
When I was a vegetable grower and GMO was just starting, I was so excited for it. I thought this is going to be brilliant. We're going to be able to get stuff in the crops that prevent insects, right? We're going to get BT in there. We're going to get this, that, whatever it is. We're going to have insect-free crops and just massive production. I never took into account, well, where are the genes coming from? What is the effect of the genes? We encounter BT on a regular basis ourselves because it's in the air. We breathe in the bacteria, we encounter it. But what's the effect of encountering it in our food system at that concentration, right? That didn't occur to me because, we're still young, still thinking. Yeah. Well, those are the things that come out of this. So what's the consequence of, I was talking to somebody recently and said that he saw a place where they were using the shock collars on the cattle, and the cattle were in the worst condition ever because they're now anxious about which way to walk because they've been
the no fence
the no
collars.
fence collars.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So now they're anxious about which way can I go, because if I start going that way, is it going to start buzzing on me? And of course, it gives them a tone until it hits them with the shock. But now the cattle are anxious,
scared, yeah.
Right? They can't settle down. They can't feel comfortable. And it's like, well, that's no good.
Yeah.
And, did you walk out there and see, is that pasture ready to be moved into? Is it ready to be moved off of? Are you driving around? I've got a friend who wants to try them. It's like, but are you? Oh yeah, I'm going to go out there every day. It's like, sure, for the first week.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all the same.
Yeah.
I had cows on daily movements until around the 1st of October. And at that point, the grass here, everything was so bad. The cattle were so unhappy. It's like, you know what? I'll just let you guys go, and you find the food that makes you happy. And that made them happy. But I haven't walked out there since because I didn't need to. And I'm busy. I'm doing other stuff. And then I just told you guys earlier that I need to start quartering them down. They're going to start dropping calves. I need to keep them, and we've got some rain. I'm going to get some grass out there. But I didn't say I was going to do it tomorrow. I said I'm going to probably do it this week, as I find the time to go out there and do it. But there's going to something's going to be in the way. And it's just normal human nature.
Yeah.
So this idea, well, here's what I did with students. A software company, a very popular, well-known software company, had come up with a way to automate farming, and it was in the news. This was 6 years ago. I was teaching a graduate class. It's like, what do you guys think? Oh yeah, this is brilliant. This will be great. Everything's going to be automated. We could do this and this and this. Like, okay, cool. So I went around. So we had one of those rolling blackboards. So I got on the back. I said, just hang on a second. I got on the back side of the blackboard, and I wrote 3 equations. I had 4-digit number multiplied by a 2-digit number, a 3-digit number divided by a 2-digit number, and a series of numbers to be added that were 3-4-digit numbers to be added. And I turned the blackboard around and I said, I want you to solve these equations. So they all got out their phones and their calculators. I said, no, without your phone and calculator, and I want it done in 5 minutes. I don't even know how to do that. That's the point. So you're going to put farming on a computer, and when it fails, you're not going to know how to do that.
Yeah.
So how's that going to work? How are you going to eat? How's anybody else going to eat when it fails? I'm a Luddite, so this is a really bad conversation for me to have.
I love it.
I like technology when it works for us.
Exactly.
AI is going to be great for scientists to model things.
Yes.
To discover, there's so much information out there. Can we find something about the genome that was hidden because our brains can't operate it fast enough? It would take us 20 years. Cool.
Yeah.
Is it going to write that scientific paper? That's a really bad idea.
Yeah.
Is it going to make decisions for us? That's a really bad idea. And do we have generations coming up that we are embedding enough knowledge in that when AI is used, they're able to recognize its failures as opposed to accepting it as fact.
Yeah.
That's the hard one for me.
Well, and that's the concerning one, because these younger generations who don't know a life pre-technology,
Right.
their social skills are lackluster in a lot of regards. And so it's like, if we're not training someone on the humanity of things and thinking about things through the lens of humanity, then it's just like all focused on profit or on all the wrong things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've evolved as a species for millennia. So this will be one of those moments in our evolutionary history that may look back on and say that we made it through that, maybe one of those hiccups. I don't know. It's puzzling to me. The pace at which technology is changing is puzzling to me. Yet my grandmother was born in 1900.
Yeah.
She literally went from horse and buggy, where they were in the country, to vehicles, right, to jets, to NASA on the moon, computing age, because she died in 1999. So she lived 99 years through all of that. I can't imagine what that looked like to her.
Yeah.
But then the difference between 99 and today, that 25-year period, I think has been far more advanced in many ways than that 100-year period.
Yeah. We would talk to our great grandmother Patterson about that. She was born in 1900. She passed away in 1994. And she would offer that a lot of times about just not believing the things that we were capable of at this point based on where she'd come from. And bless anyone if they lived long enough to from 1900 to 2025, their mind grapes would.
I'm really so
Float.
glad that Joyce Bear and Al, they passed away in 2019.
Yeah, they didn't have to do the
I'm
COVID
glad.
thing.
Oh my gosh, they would have been so confused.
Yeah.
And already I feel bad, just the scams, the phone calls, the emails.
Oh, yeah.
All the stuff.
All that technological stuff that
They
goes
can't
on.
see
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
what it
I'm
is.
very distrusting on any of that.
Oh,
at this
me
point.
too. I'm like,
Yeah. But we'll have to talk about your great grandma Patterson, because I have Pattersons in my lineage as well.
I love it.
All
Are they
right.
from Missouri?
Well, from the Midwest,
Okay.
but it'd be Cincinnati area.
Okay.
If they went from Cincinnati to Missouri, well, no, we could be long lost cousins.
I love it.
Well, that would be fun.
So,
Okay, so I want to get your thoughts on mental health coursework for farming students, people that are in ag science.
what do you mean?
Well, I think that there's a level of self-care, decision-making, figuring things out and talking about them that I feel like most farmers think that they're just going to drive out in their truck and be on the land and roll down the windows and we're just going to figure it out by themselves or with Mother Nature. And and it's like sometimes that works,
I feel like
sometimes it doesn't.
the HMI model of looking at things is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, something. I just know that we need farmers who are willing to talk more about what's happening and the struggles and being in community to figure those things out, because I know that that's what the regenerative community offers to us.
That's so. Well, we put in a proposal with USDA called "It's Just Dinner," and it is on their end. It's about farmer mental health. On my end as a farmer, because I don't want to talk about my mental health. I mean, I'll tell you if I'm angry, right?
Of course. Yes.
Because
you're a man.
Right. So I'll do that. I can tell you if I'm angry. I might even tell you if I'm really happy, but I'm not going to tell you why, right? So this idea is It's Just Dinner is just about getting farmers together, and they don't even have to be regenerative. It's farmers getting together and just talking. Just we're having dinner. That's all we're doing. It is just dinner. The proposal does include a postdoc in counseling that would, be doing research. For anybody who wants to be part of the research can elect to be part of it. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. But we did one practice one just as a trial out at Pure Pastures, and we're gonna continue doing this. You guys have to come.
Yes.
I think we're next on the list here for hosting. And several people came up and said, "This was so nice. We just got to share." I joke that the conference and our workshops are group therapy sessions,
Yes.
but they really are. We need to talk to each other about what's going on. Hey, I'm struggling with prices here. I'm struggling with drought. I'm struggling. I had to put down the sweetest cow this summer.
Yeah.
It was tragic. She had gotten a rattlesnake bite 2 years ago. Humanely, maybe I should have done it then, but I just didn't want to. She was sweet. She always wanted pets and snuggles, and I wasn't just going to do that to her until I saw her giving me the look that I'm really just, it's okay if we do this. And it was not an easy day. I mean, you're telling an animal that, hey, come this way, everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's like of mice and men, right?
Yeah.
It's like, Lenny, just look out there for the bunnies and the puppies. Those are hard moments that we have to share. And honestly, I mean, even just our own processing of birds, right? This is, I talk to them all the way.
Yeah.
It's not a pleasant thing to do. Well, I know that is not a pleasant experience at all for that animal. That is one less animal that had to live shoulder to shoulder in a factory operation.
Exactly.
And that animal then got to experience friends and sunshine and outdoors and all kinds of things. So if I can help eliminate some of that stress for those animals, even though at the end it's still a bad moment.
One bad day.
It's far better for that 8-week period than it would have been otherwise.
Yes.
So sharing those things and understanding, and also opportunities. I mean, right now we're kind of focusing on the negative things, but there's also sharing opportunities.
Yeah.
Hey, I showed up at this market. This market's really good. We could use one more of you there. We could use this there. Have you thought about something else? Out of that discussion is we're going to try and raise more duck.
Yeah.
Because there's an opportunity that showed up. Don't know if it will work. We're gonna do a safe to fail.
Yeah.
And see if that will work. But there's all kinds of things. In fact, one of the conversations was, if I get a semi-load of alfalfa, can you take a bale? Would you like a bale?
Absolutely.
Because I can get it cheaper if we do that. So all of those things are, again, coming back to that agency, right?
Yes.
Part of that agency is being able to feel like you can have purchasing power, right? And one of the things I wanted to bring up with them was a co-op, not a selling co-op, a buying co-op. Can we get together and buy? Can we buy a semi-load of egg cartons?
Yeah.
Right? So we can get the price down to maybe, I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but can I get it from 35 to 25 cents?
Yeah.
That's only 10 cents a carton, but that's a lot over several thousand cartons in a year. So it's not that much per sale. So those kinds of things. So this idea is to basically do monthly dinners somewhere at a farm, at a host. And we would then incentivize both the host to do it and then people to come to do it. And multiple events around, because they could be 3 events simultaneously, somewhere in the area. It doesn't have to be just one. And
it's just dinner night.
right. And I called it, it's just dinner specifically because that way, those of us in the room who do not like to talk about our feelings, I'm not going to talk about my feelings. We're just having dinner, but I'll probably say something to somebody. Right. And recognizing other people feel these things makes you not alone. That's all it is.
I think that can release a pressure valve.
Absolutely.
Just like,
Right.
And that's what this regenerative community is such a support and such sharing of information and resources and ideas. And it's just going to make you feel better.
Right. And you're bringing up a point too, that within regenerative, since this is new, we're having to learn new things. What worked for you? What didn't work? Right. So we don't repeat those errors. I'm in a position where I can plow up that 10 acres and, if it just, yeah, it'll be okay. No matter what, it'll be okay. But it was not going to harm me. And so then if I do it and it works, then I can bring it to the community and say, hey, this works. And if it doesn't work,
You're going to learn something.
3/4 or more of my educational capacity is telling students what not to do.
Well, and that is honestly, this is how we learn, and it's
Right.
fantastic. And I love the idea of giving these small individual people buying power, because that is where a big company can order these things at a lower price. But if you only need a few hundred of them, then it's
Right.
difficult. So that getting these farmers together, this is exactly what needs to happen to give them collectively the power that these one big box store has by itself.
Yeah. Yeah. The feed stores, both the chains and the private ones do the best they can to provide for farmers, and they're really necessary. But some things we've got to get, we've got to get prices down. And there's a lot of us doing things. The other thing about a co-op is it's too hard to do with us right now because we're all separated. We're all too far. Regenerative producers are too far apart. But years ago, I had students that wanted to start a farm. And so they were asking some questions. I said, well, your best choice would be to do like the Amish. Try and pay cash so you don't go in debt, number one. Go together on property. Find how much can you buy as a collective. Carve it out to each other individually in plots somehow. So later on it's plotted or platted to you. And get equipment and share it. Because you don't all need a tractor.
Yeah.
You don't all need one of these things. So I'd like to see us move towards that. And of course, the question is always, well, what if someone doesn't bring it back clean? What if someone doesn't bring it back with fuel in it or oil in it? And again, I say, just like the Amish, you just shun them. And everybody does this. It's so funny. Everybody's like, what? Because shunning, that goes so deep to our core, right? Everybody responds like that.
Oh my gosh. Well, isn't that the first thing? If someone doesn't notice you or wave to you, you're like, oh my gosh, did I do something?
Right.
Are they ignoring me?
Right. So that peer pressure works really fast. And I joke about it, but there is that, how do we do things collectively and thinking about the power of community, right? There is so much power in community, not only getting together and sharing ideas, releasing that pressure, getting a better sense of well-being. I'm not the only one dealing with this. Yes. I'm not the only one struggling with this. And by doing that, someone might say, I can help you here. I can, a friend of mine offered, I've got one calf that is just genetically deficient. She's just not good. And it's like, I need to take her to market. Right now, the market's high. I need to get her to market as fast as I can. And he's like, well, I'll come by. It's like, dude, you've got a 3/4 or 1-ton diesel that you're going to drive 20 miles over to my house, pulling an 18-foot trailer to pick up one calf that is maybe 500 pounds, if she's soaking wet, to take her to market. I can't consciously ask you to do that, but thank you. That's very kind. Yeah. But, I think I should just hog tie her and put her in the back of my pickup. And then everybody looks at me cross-eyed. It's like, I don't think anybody's going to take a cow like that. It's like, but it just doesn't make sense. Yeah. But that kind of friendship is what we're talking about. And we would see it years ago before the breakup of the farms. Yeah. And the loss of farms that came through the 70s and the 80s, because again, through the Midwest, everybody was pretty much farming on squares. Mm-hmm. So a square is a square mile, 640 acres in a square mile. So you had a square mile of land, maybe you had a quarter section, maybe you had a half section or something like this. But basically at the corner of that section was a house at every corner, right? There would probably be 4 houses. And, one of the things that we did, we, as a group of people, got together for potlucks after church on Sunday, for the holidays. It was real common. Kids went to school together. Something broke, I'll come over and help you combine. Something, whatever it is. That was a really normal practice. Yeah. And we all want to do it, but the next closest regenerative producer to me is 11 miles that way. And 14 miles that way, then 25 miles this way and 30 miles further, and then 40 go in the other directions, right? Yeah. And so how do we share equipment? How do we share supplies? But I think if we can get together, and if this proposal goes through and we get it awarded, this is one way those conversations. So these are things that generate out of that. These are those emergent properties out of that conversation, and that better sense of well-being also becomes this power of community. We can do more with each other.
Well, we are also hoping that our NRCS board will vote to get a no-till seed drill in our county.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's our conversation has been, how do we get counties to buy in to support farmers that want to try this, an off-ramp?
Yeah. And it's real important in regenerative ag. So I've had this conversation a couple of times with folks that'll be like, well, I'm going to go no-till. Don't even, if that's the only thing you're going to adopt, just forget it. Because that's not going to, because what automatically is going to happen is, I tried that, it failed because it wasn't the full practice. And without the full practice, you're not going to get all the benefits. So therefore, then you're going to turn around and say, well, this thing doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, you have to go all the way in. Do it all. And again, you're not doing it all on all 1,000 acres. You're going to do it all on 50 acres.
Yeah.
Do every single practice there to see how that works. So there's a farmer I was talking to recently, the one out between Midland and Abilene on cotton. It's like, well, what's your situation out there? When do people typically plant crops? So it's like, then plant covers then. Because right now, you're basically on a soil that's devoid of anything. Mm-hmm. You've got no soil armor. You've got no organic matter in the soil. You've got no fungal community. You've got no aggregation. You've got nothing. So plant your multi-species cover whenever the ideal planting season is. And then I graze it down. No. Don't graze it down. Leave it exactly where it is. And just lay it over and plant your next crop in it, whatever is next, right? So let's say it's an early corn season. Maybe there's a corn planting season. You're going to plant then. And there's a cotton planting season. Then you're going to roll it all down and you're going to plant another cover during that cotton planting season that's adapted to that weather condition, that climate. And then again and again. And you're going to do this for an entire year and you're not going to crop anything off of it. You get, a little cross-eyed look. It's like, you have to invest. That soil has been essentially divested for a century. Mm-hmm. You now have to reinvest in that to build your equity. And so by building all these things, you're going to end up where you created your moisture. And I don't know how I got onto this rabbit trail here, but there was a point in there somewhere. But nonetheless, I think it's, getting together and talking about these things, be able to get to that point, as opposed to, I'm going to do the one thing. That's how I got there. Yeah. Don't do the one thing. You're going to do it all. You're going to invest in this 100% so you can make this thing happen. Because if you don't,
got to make a commitment.
You're going to make a commitment. Right. That's right.
Well, I love it because that's what we've done on our 30 acres.
Nice.
And I'm so glad that we weren't able to get something in there to graze it. Yeah. We thought, we wanted to. And so now what you're saying is it's fantastic.
Because you're West Texas.
High five, sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you guys are. Yeah, definitely
Perfect.
Don't. Do it and keep planting. Don't go through a whole year where you're just building up your soil armor and your organic matter. And then you can get those animals in there, because you're going to have moisture in the soil.
Mm-hmm. 2026, we'll get those animals in there.
We sure are.
All right, my stomach's growling, so we're going to wrap this up. But before we go, is there anything that we didn't ask you that you're excited to share, you think we should touch on?
Well, yes, I suppose. A little bit about SPI. Is that okay?
Yeah.
With our soil lab.
Yes, I did want to talk about the soil lab. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
So our soil lab is ready to roll. I've got my staff convinced that they are ready to roll, which, as anybody knows, if you're opening a business, while this is a university, this is not opening a business, but essentially we are being open to the public. So it creates a sense of anxiety. Are we really ready for prime time? And we will never know if we don't open the doors
Amen.
and make it happen. So I'm actively working on them. So we will have a full-on announcement by the first of the year. That is my goal.
Fantastic.
So at the same time, things that we do that are going to be different in this lab. One, as Lauren mentioned the other night, we are the only one of 6 labs in the country now, I guess, that do Haney tests. So we would be able to do that. We also do EH, which is oxidation reduction analysis. So basically what we're looking for is the oxidation reduction reactions taking place in the soil to be not at an equilibrium, but at a point where they're able to go back and forth, which means that the organisms are able to exchange energy. The energy in the soil can move back and move chemistry around, make it available, going to make it unavailable, make it available again. So we want that. Otherwise, it's always going one direction. And that's not, so we want that in that space where it's going back and forth. So we can measure that. We do basic traditional tests, organic matter tests. We are working with my graduate students to develop a quantitative aggregate stability analysis, which is basically meaning that we want to be able to give a percent value of how well aggregated your soil is. So aggregated soil means that water will infiltrate into it. So if you get a rainfall, it goes in, it doesn't run off. And we don't want water to run off because it doesn't do any good to the farm if it left the farm. So we'll be able to do that. And I'm trying to think what else. Oh, some of the other things we'll be able to do, which are more along the analysis. But if a person wanted it, we can do it. It does take about 2 weeks to run. And that is the water release curve. So how well your soils release water to your plants over time. So what we want to see is a very long water availability opportunity. And we do that by virtue of pressure analysis.
Nice.
So we can tell that at a certain pressure point, the water that's being released is no longer available to the soil, is being just put under pressure and being released. So we can do that. And then we are, by next year, we'll be able to test people's products for their nutrient analysis.
Nice.
And against whatever is conventionally purchased at a grocery. So we will go and have our basic off-the-shelf product and then put it against, do that analysis. And then here's the basic off-the-shelf analysis. Here is yours.
For nutrient density.
For nutrients.
So, and we're talking about the chemical carrot versus the regenerative carrot kind of a thing.
Right.
Got it.
And we don't give any recommendations. Again, kind of like earlier, we're not going to give recommendations on your soil analysis, nor would we say for the carrot that it is better or worse. That is up to the producer to make that determination and make that discussion with their consumers. Yeah. But here is the difference. There's plenty of literature out there that they can review and make that comment. We're not. So Stefan Van Vliet up in Washington State, he does research on this. He also does analysis for Gabe Brown and Understanding Ag, but we don't. He's doing it for the research background. So use his work if you want to find, is it important that there is more or less of this mineral? We don't want to say that. We just want to give the output. And in the meantime, we are working actively to develop endowment from foundations so that we can keep SPI going in perpetuity and get it hard funded at the university. Right now we're soft funded. We're in discussion with the university right now over the potential of becoming a research accelerator. And that center would be things that would include policy research, education research. How do we get the education disseminated in regenerative ag? The wet research, which is plant soils and animals, and financial, the finance economic side of this. I can tell you the first person I ever asked this question of that got it right was the chair of my department, and he is an economist. And I asked him, let me back up a little bit. We were having a discussion about regenerative ag and the new degree plans. And he was like, yeah, I just don't think that's really, do we really need to name them that? Is it all that big of a thing? Is it really that? I said, well, after several discussions about, kind of circling this, I went in one day and I said, well, let me ask you this. What's the most important nutrient for agricultural production? And he looked at me and he said, water. And that was the moment. It's like, okay, you get it now. Now let me explain regenerative agriculture, because it is 100% about getting water in the ground. And once we get water in the ground, we can do all these other things. And so we went through this sort of scenario, and he's like, okay, I get it. But I've asked that question to plant physiologists, and they get it wrong.
What do they say?
Calcium.
Calcium, phosphorus, nitrogen, sulfur, boron, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it is simply, and water is a metabolite. Yep. It is broken down and turned into sugar. So it is actually a nutrient.
Yeah.
It qualifies as a nutrient. But most people think of it only as a turgor producing fluid that keeps the plant from wilting.
Yeah.
It's not. No, it's consumed. It is a nutrient. And if we don't think of it that way, we don't think of our soils that way, then we're not going to get it. So coming back to the lab is there's all that stuff that we want to bring into a research accelerator as we move towards an R1 university. That becomes real important for SPI as well, because I'd like to see this thing that I made continue.
Heck yeah.
Yes.
Us too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and for more information, you can go to smallproducersinitiative.org. I'm assuming when the lab is up and running, people will link to it through the SPI website.
They can. And it's up and running to a point that they still can get tests through that.
When we did our Haney test, we sent it to Nebraska. So it's very exciting that we can get in the car and just drive it to you.
Oh, that'd be fabulous. and Nebraska's a friend. So we, again, talking about the friendships among regenerative farmers, we also are that way among our other soil labs that we talk to, because we need them on the landscape, but we also need them for us in our lab consulting wise. And they're very generous with their information. And it's been a great friendship with them too. So we're all in this together.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. Well, Dr. Mix, thank you so much for your time, for inviting us to your home, your ranch, and for cooking us dinner.
Well, you're very welcome.
We're going to put this "it's just dinner" thing into practice.
Have a little test on it right now. I got pasta to roll out.
Love it.
Thanks.
Connect with the Soil Sisters at txsoilsisters.co. Submit questions, guest or show ideas, and sponsorship inquiries. The Soil Sisters podcast was created and produced by Joanna Nuding. Editing and sound design are in the capable hands of the PodConnects Podcast Network.